Welcome to part 2 of the Garden Report here on CLNS Media Network and Celtics blog. Name is Jared Weiss. That's Nick Gelso. That's Jimmy Toscano. Jeremy Karpf is behind the camera. Dave McDenon is walking in a circle behind the camera right now for some reason. So let's talk about what happened with Isaiah Thomas in this game. They tried to run the pick and roll. They've been running the pick and roll really well so far in these first 2 series. Cleveland decided, nah, not going to do that tonight. So I asked Ty Lue about this after the game. He said their main objective tonight was to get physical with Isaiah Thomas out on the perimeter, and they completely suffocated him every time they tried to run a pick and roll, to the point that the Celtics stopped really running 1-5 high pick and rolls by the middle of the second quarter because they knew it was going to be a turnover every time they tried to do it.
It was ugly. I mean, it was really ugly. The Cavaliers were prepared. The Celtics turned the ball over. They looked like I hate to say deer in headlights, but they kind of did tonight. And they looked exhausted. They looked tired.
They looked tired. The Cavs are more physical. They outmanned them tonight. They came out right off the bat. Got off to a double-digit lead in that first quarter. Pounded him. Took Isaiah Thomas out of his game. You knock Isaiah on his butt a couple of times, he couldn't get into a rhythm.
Not at all. Everybody
knows. You don't even have to be a Celtics fan. Just a casual NBA fan. You know that if Isaiah Thomas is not on his game, the Celtics don't have a shot. You can talk about role players until you're blue in the face. Jaylen Brown,
which we will.
Marcus Smart, all those guys played commendable games tonight. But the Celtics still lost essentially by 25 points tonight because Isaiah Thomas could never get anything going, and then to boot, Al Horford couldn't either. But it's all on Isaiah Thomas. It still is, despite what the Celtics try to do to prevent that.
And Isaiah got freed up in the second half. And I mean, Stevens thought they played a lot better in the third quarter.
Yep.
They just couldn't get any stops, so they couldn't really close the gap until it was too late. But that first half, physically intimidating defense, the Celtics seemed like they were almost not ready for that, which is funny because Isaiah said, at least, that while the Wizards and the Bulls mix up their defensive schemes in the playoffs, that the Cavs are doing the same thing that they've done to him all year. And it's true that the Cavs have blitzed him a lot all year, but I think they've been a little bit more varied in their defensive schemes. So for the most part, they were either blitzing him or they were icing him with a really high hedge on the big defender, but he couldn't get anywhere. He couldn't get inside, and the Celtics passing was really, really lagging tonight. We saw Cleveland has really zippy ball movement, but the Celtics, they couldn't really get a pass that was really ahead of the defender, Nick.
Yep, no, they couldn't. And the Cleveland Cavaliers, they're the world champions, right? But they had no problem coming in this building and really controlling the first quarter, controlling the first half, despite a crazy TD Garden. We saw the Washington Wizards kind of fold under that pressure of the Garden a little bit, the Bulls as well. Not the Cavs, not led by LeBron.
No, and Jared, to your point, I mean, when Isaiah's not on, his shot's not on, a lot of times he can make things happen by driving to the hoop, his little up and unders, loop-de-doop. Somehow the ball goes in and everyone's shaking their head.
He couldn't even get in the paint.
He couldn't do that tonight. I mean, the Cavs are not going to let that happen. Whether it's LeBron, whether it's Thompson, those guys, it's no easy baskets. And the Celtics need to play that way too. Too many easy baskets I thought they were giving the Cavs tonight. When they did foul, it wasn't hard enough.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that was a big issue.
Except for a couple.
But it wasn't until the fourth quarter when Hot Chocolate came into the game that they actually had a wrap-up foul that stopped LeBron from getting the shot off.
Right.
They literally didn't do it until the fourth quarter.
No.
You have to do that because, I mean, Marcus Smart fouled out, so it's not like they were like saving themselves so they didn't foul out. Like they still lost one of their a guy really that was making a difference as far as the intensity of the game.
Jaylen
Brown. They could have had a better shot. I'm talking about Marcus still. He fouled out. That was really bad. They have to do not hard fouls that can risk flagrants, but just full bear hug fouls.
Yeah, make him count.
Don't let him get the shot.
LeBron's too strong. You can't just get a little touch foul on his way to the hoop. That he's been living off that for 14 years now. If you're gonna foul the guy, don't let him get the ball up. This is most likely going to go in.
No doubt about it. And we do have to talk about Jaylen. I know I jumped the gun a little bit there.
You did. You really want to talk about him so much.
Well, I do, because he's been great.
It makes sense. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I mean, he's just been great. The rookie. Saw him in game.
Rookie.
That might be his nickname.
It's definitely not his nickname.
Okay.
But it's the fact that he is a rookie.
He is a rookie.
Surprising.
Saw him in Game 7. Stepped up. Saw him tonight. Stepped up against the Cavs. Saw him earlier in the season step up against the Cavs. Jaylen Brown. Earning his minutes. I don't know if he's a Cavs killer.
LeBron killer?
Killed the Celtics. I don't think he's a LeBron killer.
Maybe a Richard Jefferson killer.
Okay, I'll take that.
Also,
he's been
Richard
impressive.
Jefferson killer, old age.
There were only 2 guys that had a positive differential for the Celtics tonight. Hot Chocolate Gerald Green, who was on that team, on the lineup that made a run from like down 28 to down 14.
Can't put a lot into that.
That wasn't huge, but it was Jaylen. Jaylen was at a +4 tonight.
Right.
And he was playing in those crucial minutes where they were actually getting killed. He was the guy that made a difference by really hustling in transition both ways And while he does still make a lot of defensive mistakes that Stevens used to give him the quick yank for, he's earned enough trust now that Stevens is letting him play through them, and he's making up for them with great transition play. And whenever the Cavs would leave him open on the perimeter, which LeBron did deliberately a few times to like a bizarre degree, he would attack every time, and he showed the composure to Euro step through the lane and get a decent shot off, and he hit a bunch of them.
He's athletic. He's young, athletic. He's got those young legs. He's willing to go in for the boards. We saw him grab like 3 straight boards in a matter of, I think, 30 seconds. And if you give him an inch, he's going to take it. He can sky. And I was actually very impressed by his on-ball defense on LeBron. I mean, LeBron's still going to get his here and there, but it was just good offense beating good defense. It wasn't necessarily bad defense by Jaylen Brown. He did everything he could to sort of, limit LeBron, force him into a couple shots that did miss. And I got to say, I'm going to say it, I've been calling for Jaylen Brown to start.
You have.
And I don't know, but I think our best chance of seeing it is in Game 2.
I agree. I think it's time for a lineup change.
It's not Amir. It's just not Amir.
It's not Amir. I mean, he's making zero impact. I agree. I think you insert Jaylen at this point. Well, Amir, 4 minutes, 0 points.
So here's the thing, though. So Amir played those first 2 minutes, and I think when he got pulled out, it was, I think, 4.5 minutes into the game, and they were down, I believe it was 10-7, and they hadn't gotten killed on the boards yet. When he went out and they played small, that's when Love was going, boxing out Marcus Smart. That's when Tristan Thompson was jumping over Horford and Crowder. So
But they did go small late in the third and in the fourth there, didn't they? Did they not?
They went small pretty much the entire game.
Right, they outscored the Cavs in the second half going small.
They played better. I thought they played better going small than they did with the more traditional lineup.
Yeah, and the only point I'm making is that playing Amir for 5 minutes at the start of the game just so they don't get crushed early on seemed to work. They don't necessarily have to get away from that. Regardless, Smart and Brown are playing 25 to 30 minutes every single night.
You can't get too caught up in who's starting because, as we saw, Amir starts and plays 5 minutes and doesn't see the court again.
Yeah, and really having Jaylen in there for the second half of the first quarter when IT is getting some rest and then they eventually pull Horford really towards the end of it, it's great to have him out there so they maintain transition intensity. Because that's a big thing. They have to keep running against Cleveland. If they're not running and they're not spreading to get – they got to take like 43s a game and make at least 40% of them to win these games.
Which is like the opposite of what they just went through with Washington where they're trying to slow it down and play more of a half-court game. So it is an adjustment in 48 hours.
But do you just put Jaylen on LeBron to start and see how things go, to see how things start, and then put Crowder on Love? Because Crowder cannot keep up with LeBron right now.
He can't.
And I know that there's a size mismatch. I know there's a size mismatch, but I think you just got to do something.
Here's the thing. There's 6 fouls there, too. So, you could foul like you saw Marcus do it tonight. You don't want to see people fouling out. You don't want to see Jaylen fouling out. But at the same time, take a hard foul. Don't hurt anybody. You have them. You have 12 fouls to give between the two guys. Use some of them.
Yeah.
And really, I think the biggest issue defending Love is not fighting him in the post. It's being able to recover to him weak side. And that starts, they tried playing zone, and that's when you started nailing threes. When they went to that 3-2 zone in the third quarter, that killed them. When the Cavs are playing their best, they're not as good, and this is what happens. And they have to make all their shots and get out in transition offense if they want to keep up with them. So we'll see what happens. We'll be back here on Friday for Game 2. Same show, same place, same time.
Same
we will see you then on the Guard Report post-game show.
We'll see if my Cavs in 2 prediction comes
on
through.
CLNS Media Network if these guys ever stop talking, and Celtics Blog.
What's up?
Peace out. Fear the sword, people.